Hi everybody, this is Erika from Mexico.
And this is Pages from Ethiopia.
And welcome to our channel. Thank you to everybody that has commented and asked questions. We really enjoy them and it gives us a lot of good ideas on what to do next. So then, based on those questions and those comments, we're going to talk today about kind of our stories of where we came from, and then because all of that resulted in us meeting each other in San Diego. We're going to start with Peter.
So, I was actually born in Italy, but both my parents are Ethiopian.
Okay.
And I happened to grow up in most of my life in a small country called Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. And even though we did grow up in that country, our family, my parents always reminded us of our Ethiopian heritage and just like our culture. And we were very tight community in Zimbabwe. Ever since I was younger, I always wanted to come to the US, you know, just from watching all the TV shows, like Friends, and it was just something that one day I would like to go experience.
Okay. And like, did it look like it was very different than your community, or what do you think that
it was? I think it was just a different life of, you know, how things were going. And then I always meet friends, you know, Ethiopian from the community that came from the US. Okay. And so they'll share their story, and it's just something we want to experience.
Okay.
Yeah, and so one day I actually went to a party where the grand prize was actually winning a raffle ticket, which is the US, going to a US air ticket. Mm-hmm. And somehow I felt like I was gonna win that day. Mm-hmm. And in no surprise.
Where do you feel it? No, I just know what you mean.
Yeah, like I felt it. And that night, I actually won. And you know, everybody was surprised, but for me, it was just like, it was destiny. Mm-hmm. But even though I didn't win the ticket, it took me 3 years of 3 rejections, mm-hmm. In trying to come to the US, and just nothing was working. So I ended up going towards like, okay, plan B was going to Australia to start school. Okay. And it was during that time where on the same day that I dropped my passport to the Australian embassy for me to start leaving, was the exact same day where at night when I came back is when I got a letter from the US embassy saying, you won a US visa to come to the US.
Yeah.
That was like a really great experience. And then when I did come, it was a surprise. It was a big shock because I came from Africa, where there were so many Africans, obviously, to go to the US, where it was just like, I was like one of the few Africans in my city. So that was a big shock and a big experience for me. I
have to make a shameless commercial that Peter has a book about being an Ethiopian immigrant. What is the title of the book?
The Introverted Immigrant's Journey.
Yeah. So I think in there, because I guess I've never thought of that. Like I am an immigrant myself, mm-hmm. but maybe I'm not an introverted immigrant.
Right.
So like just that journey for you of like being introverted and like, okay, now I have to adapt to this whole new culture.
Right. And like
people that are very different from me, and just, you know, just being uncomfortable many times with that process.
Right.
But then there were some good things, obviously.
Yes.
So my story is that I am from Mexico, from a border city, so I am used to going, or I was used to going back and forth from Mexico to the US, and that was part of my normal life because I have family in both countries. And also my mom, who was partially raised or highly influenced by an American missionary, as she was growing up. So then I think I had that heritage that then whenever I was about 18, I decided to come to the US and study theology and study more about my faith and growing my faith too. But at the school that I went, there were like so many students from all over the world. Like it was like from different countries in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, in Latin America. So I think in there is when I started falling in love with just different cultures, like learning about like different customs, ways of doing things, like kind of understanding my way is not always the right way. Right. Many times it is. No, it's not always the right way. So I think that really enriched my life. And then I guess I finished school and went to study counseling as well. But then just kind of life brought me to San Diego, which I'm so happy because that's where I met Peter. And then I think that's part of our story that we wanted to share. There's so many things, but we also want to make these videos short. So next time what we're going to talk about is
online dating.
And we're going to talk about some cultural aspects. We'll talk about it, and you'll see kind of both of our experiences. Maybe we can talk about dating in our countries, how it might be a little different for both of us. So I think that's it, and thank you so much. And if you have questions or suggestions,
comment below.
yes, and then we'll always try and read them. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.